So thank you for joining us every morning thank you for joining us, everyone, as we are getting ready to hear from some of our clients that are in the UAS field doing some really interesting work. We're going to start out with a brief explanation of who we are, go over our purpose and agenda for today, and then introduce our guests. So we are DefTech, the Maryland Defense Technology Commercialization Center, and that is a program of the Maryland Department of Commerce that helps businesses connect with the resources in our federal labs, whether that is licensing intellectual property, entering into cooperative research and development agreements, or other types of test service agreements, or getting letters of interest. I do want to ask everyone, if you're not speaking, please make sure your mics are muted so we don't get feedback or the odd dog or cat, making all kinds of noise, or children. So we are funded by the Federal Economic Development Administration. So this is, again, a program of the Maryland Department of Commerce. There's no charge to businesses to work with us. This meetup, Taking Technologies to Market, is sponsored by our nonprofit called the Center for Innovation, Technology, and Entrepreneurship. And we help to build entrepreneurial ecosystems, educate entrepreneurs, and generally help Maryland right now have a very healthy, thriving ecosystem. So what we're going to do, I want to let you know some of the people that are on today. Of course, I'm going to talk about our speakers, but we do typically get people from a wide variety of industries, everything from biotech to healthcare. We got manufacturers, people working in big data. Frequently, some of our lab partners will join us to listen into what we're talking about. Today, with our focus on unmanned systems, I did specifically invite a few people that we wanted to have here to provide support to our entrepreneurs. So we have Tony Pucciarella, who is the founder and CEO of Alaris Pro, which supports UAS operators with operational and fleet management tools and provides critical data and design and production feedback to UAS manufacturers. And also very happy to have Matt Scassero here. So Matt is the director of the UMD UAS test site, which is located down in St. Mary's County. If you're not familiar with what the test site can do for you, which includes everything from airspace integration, consulting, airworthiness, and so very much more, I'm going to encourage you to check out their websites, and I will put those in the chat window right now. But essentially, it's Alaris Pro, ALARIS PRO, and uas-test.umd.edu. So those are in the chat. And now I can't find my mouse. Okay. So the reason we're doing this is because last February, DefTech hosted an event exclusive event just for our client companies and some of our new potential clients that have since become clients. And the purpose of this was because we know how important networking is. We know how important it is for you to be in the right place with the right group of people. So we invited DefTech clients, and we also invited our partners and some resource providers. We centered this around the topic of product development, which was very important to our clients, and had a 3-hour session over lunch at Harbor Designs and Manufacturing at 1100 Wycomico in Baltimore. And we got excellent feedback on that. Just more, our clients telling us they met an average of 4 new people and intended to follow up with at least 3 of those new contacts. And that was so very helpful for them. We decided immediately to do more of that. And then, of course, the pandemic. So since we can't meet in person, we thought we still want our clients to be able to meet and network with and get support from the people that they need to meet with. So we're trying this series of online pitch events. While we don't have the opportunity so much to mix and mingle, I will encourage you to put your contact information, your email, or your LinkedIn profile in the chat so that people can connect with you. So I'm not going to talk anymore because we want to get to the good stuff. We do have three UAS companies joining us. They all have a variety of needs, everything from access to resources. Every single one of them will tell you they need funding, because if you have a small business, of course you need funding. This is not a pitch competition. There's no funding tied to this. So really it's important that we find out who is available to support them and help them find the right resources. So we're going to start, and I'm not going to do a big introduction because they're going to do this. We're going to start with Pramod and hear about Airgility and what they're working on right now and how we might be able to support them. Also, thanks. I see some contact info going into the chat. And I will mention right now, Tony, if there's some contact info you want me to put in here, just let me know. And I know you have an info email address on your website. I can look that up and put that in there if you'd like.
Yeah, and I think Brian Doherty from my team is going to be on, so I can have him added too as well. I'll let you know.
Oh, okay. Great. Okay. Pramod, it's all yours. You're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, so as you mentioned, having this Google Meet will not let me screen share. So I just sent you the slide deck. You should get it in like less than 30 seconds here, if you can help me with that. All right, you should get it in a second, Kim.
Okay, I'm just refreshing my mail.
Yeah, in the meantime, I'll start talking, and as you're pulling that up, and then I'll of course let me just find. Okay, here we go, and we'll let you share your screen, but I'll start talking. So my name is Pramod Raheja, Mode for short. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called Airgility. We are based here. We're a University of Maryland venture spin out. It's great to see a lot of familiar names here, Matt, Tony, and others. And I'm sure we'll be working together at some point in the future. So we spun out of Maryland about just a little over 3 years ago, and we're based in the Discovery District in the heart of College Park, right across from the College Park Airport. Strong ties to aerospace engineering, as my co-founder and I are both aerospace engineering grads from Maryland. And obviously I'll get into what we're up to right now and our journey and the kind of things we're looking for. But first I'll do a check here. Kim, did you get my email?
I did get it. I'm just waiting for it to download.
Oh, sure. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. It's a PDF, so there's not a lot I can do with it to make it look better. But let me.
It's totally fine. Yeah, the PDF I think is a little easier to send, but I have the PowerPoint, of course.
It is. Yeah. All right. Let me.
Sure. Boston, I like your Maryland polo there. I got to get me one of those.
It does this odd thing where it asks me to share, and then it doesn't. I said I want to share, and now it doesn't want to let me pick the share button.
Yeah, that was the problem I'm having. I've had trouble with Google Meet actually quite a bit in the past, so I'm not too surprised, although I was hoping it would work.
Yeah, there we go. It usually does. I haven't had a problem with it, but either way.
There we go. Great. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I'm trying to see your screen here.
Can you see it?
Hang on. Am I able to take over? Let's see here.
I don't think so.
Okay. I cannot see it. Hang on. Let me make sure I can see it actually.
Can I see some? Austin, can you see his screen? See Bill's screen? You can just nod your head. Okay. I mean, I'm sorry, I said Bill. Promotes.
Okay, great. Let me see why I can't see it. Hang on. It'll be hard to present, I guess.
It will be hard.
Let me see here.
There's a change layout button. If you click on that, maybe that will help.
Okay. Where is that, Kim?
The 3 dots on the right-hand side.
Oh, got it. Okay. Change layout. Here we go. I got it. Okay, perfect. All good. All right. So got the titles, and I'll just start talking, and I'll hit next when I'm ready for the next slide, Kim. Thank you so much.
Yep, sure.
So again, we're Air Agility based here in Maryland, and we essentially focus on unmanned artificial intelligence and autonomy around aerial and ground or unmanned systems. And really, in a nutshell, all that means is that we're making drones smarter. So we started out our pedigree as a company designing our own drones. We've since sort of become a lot stronger on the AI and autonomy or software side, which means we're hardware agnostic and we can put our systems into just about anything. Although we happen to have some of our own unique drones, which we're now putting into the market, and we'll tell you about. So we can go to the next slide, Kim, or just scroll. Yeah. So I already mentioned we're here in the Discovery District. We have strong ties to Maryland. In fact, we work pretty much with almost every department of Maryland. We work with a lot of internship programs, from MTIP to Keystone to the Impact Consulting Group. We've gotten 4 Maryland Industrial Partnership grants. So you can see a picture there, a partial picture of a wind tunnel model. That's one of ours. So we do, we use the wind tunnel, and so we work very, very closely with all of our Maryland counterparts. We haven't done a whole lot yet at the test center down in Southern Maryland, but that's coming soon as well. Next slide. So myself and my co-founder, I mentioned us earlier, we're both Maryland grads. I'm the CEO, and Ivandro is our CTO. We both met about a little over 3.5 years ago, and have a really, if you think about partnerships, think about what needs to happen in that. We have a very complementary skill set that overlaps really nicely. And so we've been able to, in the time that we've been around, really go from, I'd say, nothing other than an idea and a prototype to, and some, a lot of knowledge, of course, but a lot of knowledge to where we are now, which I'll get to. So next slide, please. So one of the things that we found is just in general in the industry, and this is a problem that we're actually working with the Air Force on, which we'll tell you about here in a few minutes, is that there's this problem with you have robots, and specifically flying robots or drones, that have this balance that has to happen in your cost, weight, how much power are you using, and what are you actually doing on that drone, and what's the algorithms that are taking place. And really the question becomes, how do you achieve that balance in order to get the job done? Meaning stay in the air long enough, as an example, to actually make something happen. And so our solution is what we've come up with, this proprietary sensor and algorithm fusion that allows our algorithms to really prioritize or make decisions and do things only when needed, so that we're really not necessarily having to have this strong, high computational power at all times, that we can actually achieve the industry term of what they call edge processing. And so really having this onboard, real time, not pushing to the cloud, not downloading from an SD card, which is pretty much the norm these days, but actually having the drone make decisions and use some sort of deep learning and be able to decide where to go, what to do, and how to do it. Next slide, please. And as I mentioned, we really started our company based on, just platforms, which is, we came up with some design philosophies around how do you take the best attributes of a fixed, a helicopter, and a quad, and combine them into one design philosophy. And those 4 characteristics that you see on the screen, the exoskeleton, the flight efficiency, the ability to be modular and field serviceable, and also be very flexible and also build the vehicle up or down, became important aspects as we started the company. And so we're really proud of our designs. We do have full patents on some of these things. So we have a little patent portfolio that's building. Next slide, please. And I'm not going to go into the attributes of all these drones right now. I'm just, going to mention that they're designed for different missions. The one on the right that you see there, that's called our DS1. That one is actually launched as a product as of just 2 weeks ago. We launched it in a very soft way with DHS as our first customer. And now we're working towards a hard launch of, a bigger hard launch where it's, completely productized and ready to go. And so we're very excited about that as well. It's designed for public safety mission, security. We're working with the Air Force now as well with this drone, and also the one in the middle. And so there's a number of things going on. And then if you go to the next slide, please, you layer in this, what I've described earlier as sort of this AI-powered autonomy. And the thing here is that we started to really work on the drones first, as I mentioned. And we realized that we had a big weak point in that we really didn't know what to do with the AI and the autonomy piece. And so we were starting to look for partners for that. And we ended up building it in-house, which is we're really proud of. And so now we have actually a very robust, sought-after AI robotics team. A lot of companies are coming to us to say, hey, let's get something powered by air agility. And that's sort of a phrase we're using now. But in a nutshell, that DS1, which is our first true product, is very easy to operate. I could train any of you to fly it in less than 30 seconds. In terms of how it flies, it has sense and avoid capability and collision avoidance that allows you to really make it very simple to operate. This is something we heard from stakeholders through our DHS affiliate contacts. And then also building in the AI of being able to, detect objects or faces or events, and then being able to fly that in a GPS denied confined space is really a big, huge value driver that we saw. What we saw was everybody going to the market for delivery and logistics, which is great, by the way. That's going to be a huge market. But we saw a blue ocean in the GPS denied piece, and that's where we focused. That's also where we partnered with, which I'm going to talk about in a second, partnered with our DHS S&T Directorate on as well. Next slide. So talking about the product here a little bit, we have one drone with really two different versions. One is called our DS1 Assist. This is the pilot controlled one where it's, you're driving it, but it's not going to hit anything. So it's very easy to train somebody to fly it up, down, left, right. I'm a pilot with over 14,000 hours, so I do know that there is some skill required in aviation, both manned and unmanned. But we've tried to make this as simple as possible to fly and build in safety features. So it's de-risked, yet has all the things that you would want in terms of 3D mapping and being able to path plan as well. Next slide, please. And then the other version, and we've delivered both versions of this to DHS, by the way, is the free version, what we call the free version, which is more fully autonomous, where you're really, clicking a button. These are both tablet controlled, by the way, and you can use finger swipes to make them fly. And so you're essentially saying, hey, I want you to just go fly a pre-programmed path, or potentially just independently explore, go through doorways, down hallways, come back when your battery's running low, or maybe just land somewhere and we'll come back and get you later. These are designed to be attritable. We 3D print them. They're designed to be low cost, low life cycle if desired as well, which are a couple value drivers that we're seeing out there in the marketplace, especially in the DoD and government circles as well. Next slide. So you have this sort of what we call lower level thinking going on, where you're flying around, and you have to do that. You have to be able to fly around. However, now you add in this layer of AI and algorithm fusion that I've been talking about, and now you have truly something that could be a killer app, and that includes putting this computer vision tracking on board the drone in a number of different environments, from the coastline, as you see there, a littoral setting, which is something we're talking to Air Force, Navy, NOAA about, as well as on board the drone itself, which is the lower side of it, part of the screen, where you're tracking objects, and then the algorithm's doing its thing and deciding what to stay with and how to stay with it. And that's where the fusion comes in. And then you add in the facial recognition and even the privacy layers, which I know it's hard to see on this slide, but on the top strip there, the face is blocked on the top two right. So, having the privacy layer and only really committing something to a database when needed. And the pictures you see there, they're a little small, and I'm not going to go into detail right now for lack of time, but happy to answer in Q&A or one-on-one. We're using a donut there as a threat object, kind of for fun, but that could be a gun, it could be a backpack, it could be a knife, it could be anything. And that's the idea there, that you're using this AI to determine if there's a threat or not. And that's where our sort of security solutions are coming into play. Next slide, please, Kim. How we address that problem is around, we use our own internal, we call it a totem pole approach, which is really, again, just in its most simple explanation, it's just turning on and off an algorithm as needed. There's different types of algorithms that use machine learning, that use non-machine learning, and we're able to make these play together very well on the board on the actual drone. Next slide. And then we're also, with using these same techniques of AI and computer vision, we are applying our drone to counter UAS and perimeter defense. Again, I won't get into the deep solution for lack of time, but in a nutshell, we're designing a perimeter. We're designing the ability for the drone to chase, track, and potentially prosecute and execute a kinetic event as well using a low-cost drone. There's a lot of interest for this sort of thing right now, and there's plenty of conversations on our end going on around this as well. Next slide. As far as the market and the business stuff, which I'm jumping into now, market opportunities are big. I think anybody on this phone call that's familiar with the industry will agree that there's just a lot going on. And I know that there are a number of other drone UAS companies on the call here, and I'm sure you guys will agree. No matter what numbers you look at, no matter what you slice and dice, there's a lot of opportunity happening. Next slide. So we, one thing that put us on the map 2 years ago was this partnership with S&T. We were one of only 2 UAV companies selected for a smart cities technologies program. They probably had 150 or 200 apply. It was the conduit for this program was through the Center for Innovation and Technology in the state of Virginia. So we've been working pretty closely with them for the past 2 years and continue to do so. And it's been a great program. And that's where we started to really develop our ability with GPS denied environments, autonomy, darkness, that kind of thing. Next slide, please. We call ourselves a dual use company. This is important these days. We're both doing government and commercial work. We're setting up a federal services division within our company. We're building a sales commercial pipeline. We have a few customers right now with a large pipeline continuing to build. And of course, we wouldn't be able to do any of this without our partnerships. As I mentioned, Maryland, you'll see Maryland all the way at the bottom, all over the place there, the Maryland Robotics Center, the Tech Port. We talk to Tommy fairly regularly. And then, of course, Kim and DefTech and Griffin have been great. We're right now in the final stages of a CRADA with the Army, thanks to DefTech really helping us there as well. And that's been big, and I think that's going to play really well into our strategy long term. So I appreciate that, Kim. Next slide, please. Some of our recent wins on the business side. So we were one of only 10 companies selected for the first ever U.S. Air Force Labs from AFWorks. That took place here in April through July, and unfortunately it was virtual. It was based in Boston. I love going to Boston. I would have loved to have been up there every month for a couple of days at least, but unfortunately we had to do it all through Zoom. But it was still a really great experience. And Mass Challenge was the organization that ran that for the Air Force. They did a really great job. That's a big win. On the top left, you see our DS1 drone with a blue light. That's actually a UVC technology that has wavelengths that actually essentially disinfect around it. So this is something we'll be working on the Army CRADA on with them as well, around in terms of being able to do this both with the air robot. We've also partnered with a UV technology company from a ground robot perspective too, that actually autonomously drives around on the ground and can hit a pretty big area. And we've done initial tests on that. And now we're continuing that. We also recently joined the Aero Group. It's a large aerospace and defense group with about 9 different companies. And we're going to be a tech enabler for them across the range of companies. That's leading also to worldwide interest. In fact, this morning I was on a call from 7 a.m. until just now doing this presentation with an organization in India. There's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of political things right now that are also driving the ability for U.S. manufacturing UAS companies to advance. The fact that there's the DJI drones, unfortunately, are not being used anymore at all in India, and as well here in the U.S. that's coming down the pipe as well, and for DoD and government. So there's a lot of opportunities to present themselves, and so we're inserting ourselves into those conversations, obviously. Next slide, please. From a business model perspective, without getting into too much detail right now, we are a mix of products and services. We're made in the USA. We do have some big licensing opportunities. We are a TEDCO portfolio company. Right now, we are raising an angel round on startengine.com /agility. Happy to chat about that or even separately outside of that. Today, we're not necessarily asking for a specific ask around money or anything like that. We're really more interested in our ecosystem how we can play further with some of the companies that are local companies that are on the call today, as well as Department of Commerce and other elements of the state of Maryland as well. We have received up to this point about $800,000 in grant funding, and we have a lot of strong interest right now from strategic players in terms of investment and potential acquisition as well. Next slide, please.
Okay, we're going to have to speed up a little bit so we have time for everyone.
I'm actually just about done.
Okay.
I know we're about to 10 minutes here, so we have a good team of advisors. I can talk about that later in Q&A or just one-on-one. Next slide, please. And wrapping it all up, we are made here in the USA, strong collaboration and great talent, patent portfolio. Happy to chat with anybody and looking forward to talking to more of you that I have not talked to in a long time. Thank you, Kim.
You are welcome. It's a great slide with pictures.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Yes. So let's talk about what some of the things you need. When you and I talked, you talked about wanting to understand the ecosystem and who's available to support the work that you're doing in the ecosystem and how you get access to people. Was there anything else specific that you want to talk about now?
Yeah, I think first of all, I appreciate the opportunity today, but I'd love to learn more about the Department of Commerce and some of the programs. I know there's some specific aerospace things, there's some manufacturing things, and I'm just probably not familiar with all the different things. There's always things changing. COVID has changed quite a bit of things. So just want to, maybe offline or even for the benefit of everybody that's on the call today, just learn a little bit more about these programs that might be there for a UAS company like ours or the others that are on here, Austin and Bill as well.
Yeah.
And then I think Tony's on here, but Tony I know is plugged into pretty good in the Maryland, and he might be plugged in already.
Yes. So I know that we have a lot of our partners from the Department of Commerce on the call today. And Jenny had mentioned to me that there were a couple of UAS people invited, and I'm sorry, I don't know who is who. Is there somebody from Commerce that wants to talk about the programs to support companies and working in the field of UAS?
Sure. So Kim, this is Heather, and I can speak kind of generally about it. And I know I have a couple of members of my team on the call here as well. So I'm Heather Graham. I'll provide my contact information in the chat. I oversee our strategic industries group at Commerce. Ernesto Shinona on the call is our biohealth and life sciences industry sector, and Todd Saban on the call is our manufacturing program manager. And so in general, I would say that Commerce has, from a financing perspective, we have a couple of different tools that can help companies grow, both through low interest lending for small minority-owned businesses, through tax credit programs and other things to help offset the costs of growth here in the state. I would say the other service that we provide to companies is helping to be that connector. And that is something that you mentioned earlier. So both through our industry sector team, but also through the team that Jenny is a part of, which is our Office of Military and Federal Affairs. They work very closely with our federal and military installations and can help companies make connections in that space as well. Be happy to sit down and talk with you more one-on-one about your company's growth needs and some of the programs and when and where they might plug in best to help support your company's growth.
Awesome. Thank you, Heather. I look forward to meeting you. Yeah, and if you could put your contact info there, I would definitely reach out. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I am curious, you mentioned that you're made in the USA. Where are you manufacturing right now? And what does that look like for you in the future?
Yeah, so that's a good question. We are doing small scale, what they call low rate initial production right in College Park right now. Although we are having conversations with North Harbor Designs in Baltimore, as well as some discussions with some organizations in Virginia at the moment. And then there's some options in Indiana and Colorado, although we'd really like to stay in the DMV. We'd like to keep it close to home if we can. So right now the plan is, we do some small testing in our facility and the flying cage there in College Park. Planning to do manufacturing local in DMV, and then larger scale testing down in Southern Maryland at the test site with Matt as well at some point soon.
Great. Yeah, we know Harbor Design well. They're great great organization there in Baltimore. So again, anything we can do to help support you on that side and scaling up manufacturing, Todd and I'd be happy to chat with you about it.
Thank you so much.
Okay, do we have any other questions or suggestions or thoughts about what Pramod talked about and the direction their agility is going, or did you notice anything where you could potentially help them out?
No, I'll just say that was a great presentation. Congratulations on the success you had in what did you say, 3 years? Very impressive, and just looking forward to connecting with you after this is over.
Likewise, Austin. Thank you. I do too.
Yeah. So I saw Austin put his LinkedIn contact information in there. Bill did. Lots of people did. So I hope everyone's going to the chat and grabbing that information. Okay. If we don't have any more.
One thing I'll mention real quick is I've really been impressed with both Pramod's and Evandro's ability to pivot. They came out with basically a technology idea, an initial product idea, and they pivoted actually several times based on market discovery, customer discovery, technology changes, the changes in the market. It's still a very immature market for UAS. So the ability to pivot in this brand new market is key, I think, to a lot of the folks on this call. You may come in with an idea, but be ready to apply your idea in different ways and maybe even go to a new idea. So good job, Pramod and Evandro.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm glad to hear that they've that you've been working with the test site, Pramod, and you've been down there for a while. Can you just talk just for a minute about some of the support and some of the insight that you gained from working with the test site? In full disclosure, Matt and Tony and I used to be the three amigos a long, long time ago when we set up the test site. Good times, but it's been a while since I've been there, so I wasn't working with you, Pramod, and their agility when I was there. So
yeah, so we haven't utilized the test site at all yet from a capability testing perspective, but that is on the horizon because we will be getting into some BVLOS and other things. As Matt said, the market is still maturing quite a bit. So we went indoors with this GPS denied type of focus and mission for the last couple of years. But we are having opportunities here for delivery and logistics all over the world. And so that is on the horizon here for 2021. So we will be working closely with Matt, I'm sure, and we'll be calling him soon to fill him in on some of the things we're looking at and get him involved. But we have been talking regularly to Tommy over at Techport right next door. And, we have advised them on some of the 3D printing and things like that. And I know Evandro's gone down there a few times and worked with them on some of their, initiatives around the inventor muscle, I think it's called. And so there's a lot of good ties, and Tommy's been a great connector for us as well. I'm a mentor at this organization called FedTech, and Tommy had recommended me to do that. So there's a lot of, so I guess the bottom line is the ecosystem starts, and it starts with relationships. And I think that those relationships build over time. You may not have a need, on day one, but 2 years later, 3 years later, after staying in touch and staying connected, you feel very comfortable coming back to the people you know. So obviously we know Matt, we know Tommy, we know Matt, and we're tied into Maryland. So it's a very strong, comfort level, I'll just say. That's really my biggest, I'd say advice is just the relationships, just building them over time and maintaining them. And really when there's a need and there's a partnering that needs to happen, it's perfect. It's easy. You don't need to start over. You've already built that base.
yeah, I think I flew I think it was a DS1 down at Techport.
Yep. Yeah. Evandro took the team down there for that. That's right. I remember that.
Yes, I did not crash it. It was very, very, very easy to fly. And Tony and Matt can tell you, I am not gifted with UAS. Doesn't matter the size. Okay, thank you, Pramod. Thank you, everyone, for chiming in. I want to make sure we have time for everyone else. So next, we are going to be joined by Bill Fredericks with the Advanced Aircraft Company. So, Bill, I'm just going to turn it right over to you.
All right, wonderful. I'll give Google Meet here a shot, see if I can present. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. All right, let's see. Here we go.
I can see your slide, so that's progress.
Wonderful. Let me hide this. So good morning. I am Bill Fredericks, founder and CEO of Advanced Aircraft Company. This is a photo of our long endurance multi-rotor flying over Charles City County. And we are in the business of selling greater productivity to the UAS operators. So quick agenda, we'll give an intro, talk through the markets we're going after, our value proposition, and an ask. A little bit of my background to give some context. So most recently, prior to Advanced Aircraft Company, I worked at NASA Langley Research Center in Hampton, Virginia as an aerospace engineer. While working there, my most noteworthy project was I got to do the conceptual design of NASA's Grease Lightning UAS and led that project all the way through its flight testing phase. And if you Google search NASA Grease Lightning, you can watch the public affairs video on YouTube. And after finishing that project, we quite literally put the aircraft up on a shelf, broke up the team to go work the next job. And that's just what NASA does. NASA develops new technologies, it doesn't commercialize it. After going through that experience, I sort of said to myself, do I still want to be a government researcher, or do I want to see something that I just proved was feasible commercialized? So that was my impetus to transition out of the government and eventually found Advanced Aircraft Company. Prior to NASA, I was an artillery officer in the Marine Corps, deployed to Afghanistan in 2011, and I'm also an aeronautical engineer from Purdue. So what is AAC? Advanced Aircraft Company is the aircraft manufacturing company. Our customers are those service providers and the enterprise programs that have in-house drone pilots. And our value proposition to those customers is we can lower your cost per acre to acquire data by up to 45%. And that's just a huge margin for a services industry. And the technology is driving that increase in profitability. The aircraft is much more productive, which leads to that profitability increase. And it's got a hybrid electric propulsion system on it. So the energy is in liquid fuels instead of the energy being in batteries. In combination with a number of aerodynamic improvements on the vehicle, I've reduced the drag of the aircraft significantly relative to conventional battery-powered multi-rotors. So as Maud said, there is massive market opportunities in the drone market. One of the most interesting stats I read from Business Insider Intelligence that the compound annual growth rate for enterprise drones is growing at 51%. And that's just a huge growth segment. Those are all very large macro markets, but what we're focused on as our launch markets to look much more tactically is we've selected two markets, survey and mapping and infrastructure inspection. And we picked these markets for basically two reasons. One, with today's regulatory framework of Part 107, you're allowed to do these missions and you're allowed to generate revenue on these missions. Additionally, there are service providers in business today that work in these areas, and those existing businesses are our first customers, and we don't have to create a market demand for this product. So if I could change hats for a minute, so I'm taking off the Bill Fredericks AAC hat and putting on, I am Joe Aircraft Operator, and I sell data by the acre hat. And the big pain point is really productivity. In an 8-hour workday, most operators are averaging 3.4 hours of productive utilization. That's with the aircraft overhead actively taking photos. And that poor productivity is challenging because in general, if you were to distill those business models, they generate revenue by the acre and pay their pilots by the hour. So productivity is a key metric of interest. We're working to solve these challenges of poor productivity, this trade-off between what's easy to use versus what can fly longer, maintenance, repair, and overhaul, and the regulatory framework. And as a point of comparison, for data gathering needs, the way it's been done previously is using manned rotorcraft. That's about $2,000 a flight hour. And most end users are just simply not able to pay those price points. And this picture in the background is an interesting one. This is Bingham Canyon Mine out in Utah. It's a huge open pit mine. And to just give a sense of scale, those dump trucks driving up the road there at the bottom of the picture, those are those massive dump trucks where the tires themselves are 8 feet in diameter, to give you a sense of scale. And imagine trying to build a three-dimensional topographical map of this mine with 20-minute flight times at a time. It's just horribly inefficient. So the operators of today, they basically have 3 types of vehicles. You can have a fixed wing that's aerodynamically much more efficient, can fly much longer, but its shortcomings is you need a catapult and much more training intensive, and there's a significant logistical burden. Or you can fly the multi-rotors, which are inexpensive, very easy to use, easy to transport, but their limited flight times really impact your productivity. And there are also these hybrid quad configurations, or otherwise known as lift plus cruise configurations. What's nice about those is they can do the vertical takeoff and landing to operate out of long, small confined areas, and they can fly long distances, but they have no ability to persistently hover. So the lift props have batteries that last 2 to 3 minutes, and then you got to spend the whole time flying around on the wing. Additionally, they are dramatically more expensive vehicles to purchase. So what's the economic value proposition of our technology? So being a NASA guy, I love technology, but I recognize that customers will buy our technology because it makes it more affordable for them to run their business. And this chart tells that economic story. So the y-axis is the acquisition cost of that aircraft plus the operations cost of that aircraft. And the x-axis is how much area you have surveyed. So when area surveyed equals 0, that is the acquisition price of that asset. And the slope of the lines is what's your productive utilization in that workday. And you'll notice that the break-even point with the battery-powered multi-rotor versus our technology is about 80,000 acres. And you're like, whoa, that's a big number. 80,000 acres is a lot. But if you were to be a productive operator where you got your flight teams out there working 40 hours a week every single week, you would be imaging 80,000 acres in just over 3 months. And if you think about that for a minute, that's a pretty radically short break-even time. So in just over 3 months, you could break even on buying the more expensive asset. To look at this from another perspective, from a logistics perspective, this is the way many commercial operators go to the field today. They bring the aircraft, sometimes a spare aircraft too, and you have at least 4 sets of batteries. To fly one of these large DJI vehicles, you have to simultaneously attach 6 batteries to the aircraft. You've got your ground control station, and you've got a generator you buy from Home Depot or wherever, a battery charger. Frequently, you have an extra person do nothing but babysit the battery charger and be swapping batteries out. And then obviously, you have to bring the fuel to run that generator. Compare that with what the logistics footprint looks like with our aircraft. You bring the aircraft, you bring the ground station, and you just bring fuel. And since the fuel goes straight into the aircraft, you don't have to bring spare batteries. You don't have to bring that generator to run the battery charger, dramatically simplifying the logistics footprint, and just put the fuel directly into the aircraft. It's also interesting to note that we burn about 1/3 of the fuel of battery-powered multi-rotor operations. 2 reasons for that. One is we don't have the charge-discharge losses of charging and discharging batteries. That round-trip efficiency is actually only about 60%. And additionally, the Home Depot generator is an old carbureted thing that its fuel consumption isn't great. The engine in the aircraft is computer-controlled, fuel-injected, all electronic controls, just like a modern car. And so it is much more efficient than an equivalent generator you'd buy from Home Depot or whatever. So what's our ask for the group today? Basically, we have three categories of asks. One is technology partners, two would be investors, and three would be distribution channels to additional customers. So back on the technology piece, for example, if there's someone working on vehicle health management technologies, we want to get to the point where we are actually installing a whole bunch of data acquisition systems into the vehicle. And at some point in the future, once we build up enough historical data about temperatures, vibration levels, things like that, we want to actually turn that into a predictive maintenance thing where in flight you notice some values getting outside of normal, and then the pilot gets an idiot light pop up on the ground station. For example, motor 3 is consuming a higher amount of current than normal, suggest you abort the mission and land now. Things like that. Additional, maybe mood. It's interesting how you guys have pivoted much more to the software and edge computing piece. And I think that's really synergistic between our two companies. And I would love to have a follow-up conversation with us, because I have purposely decided to stay out of the software piece and really focus on building the high-performance platform. So I think there's a potential partnership there. We are actively raising a seed round for accredited investors. We can talk terms and the value proposition there. And then for customers, additional folks who can open up a sales channel to more commercial customers, as well as DoD. I'm, as I said earlier, a former Marine officer, but we haven't made any traction in the DoD. And so if there's another company on this call that would want to be the prime contractor, and we would be their sub in order to get our technology in the hands of the warfighter, pardon me, we'd be very interested in forming a relationship there. So in summary, the UAS industry is challenged to acquire data more efficiently. We have a technology that enables the aircraft operator to improve their utilization and productivity by up to 45%. We do that with a hybrid electric propulsion system on it. Think of it like a hybrid car, not a plug-in, just a regular hybrid car, as well as a number of innovative aerodynamic design features to reduce the drag of the aircraft. Additionally, this combination of vertical takeoff and landing with the ability to hover for hours at a time enables new use cases. For example, if you need to transit long distances and then persistently hover for hours to do an inspection and then transit long distances back again, that's now something that our vehicle has the capability of doing in a small UAS. And we also have a corporate growth strategy to leverage our net income from our first product line, Hammer, into our next product line, which I didn't talk about on this call, of Grease Lightning, which is that technology I led the development of NASA. And thank you very much. And I'll take questions at this point. And let me switch back over so I can see everyone's faces.
Thank you, Bill. That was fascinating. I learned a lot listening to you. It's very, very interesting. And I noticed that Matt put a question up there. Do you want to just ask that question?
Yeah, Bill, just are you open to exploring alternative engines? One of the folks that we work with down in Southern Maryland, Matt Hayes with UPD. I don't know if you've talked to him at all. Heavy fuel engine, super efficient.
Yes, I do know Matt actually quite well. I have placed a couple contracts with Matt, and I would love to get him to sort of finish it and deliver something. So actually, we can have a more detailed conversation offline, but I think Matt is a brilliant engineer working with engines, but he just sort of needs to get off of bottom dead center and get the product finished.
Good observation. Thanks.
I think he needs some funding. He's been looking for that for a long time.
Yeah.
So interesting. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? You heard Heather. So this is talk about some of the support. That's the Maryland Department of Commerce. You're a DefTech client. I'm not sure how that works because you're out of the state, but we want to see growth, in the state. And I know you're aware of what Matt is doing and all the capability at the test site, and you work with Tony already, which is fantastic. Are there contacts or connections aside from people to work with, different companies that you might want to partner with? That's an opportunity that maybe we can help with in Maryland, is finding those partners, because you're looking for a first opportunity with DoD, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I like to say that as an investor-funded startup, I want to be very careful not to spread our peanut butter too thin and pile all of our peanut butter up on the one thing that we do awesome that no one else does, and that's that high-performance vehicle platform. And in terms of edge computing and software and distribution channels, we want to find partnerships and come up with a way to build a relationship where all of us companies row the boat in the same direction.
I just wanted to mention, this is Ernesto from the Maryland Department of Commerce. The Maryland Technology Council has they work with anybody, not just Maryland-based entities, but they have a wonderful venture mentoring service and a mentor program for young companies. Something worth considering, seeing how, from what I hear from the program, so many entrepreneurs have signed up to be mentors that it's like a wonderful, like so much advice from all these folks that have kind of gone through the same path. And so happy to connect you guys to the Tech Council. If you're interested, just feel free to reach out to me. I'll also put my email in the chat box.
Okay. Yes, please.
Thank you. That's a great suggestion, Ernesto. Thank you for that. I'm going to put a link in the chat box now for that service, so you can take a look. It's always nice to have someone connect you, though. I found even that there's this information on the website. It's nice to go in having known somebody or met somebody that can kind of make that initial introduction.
Okay, yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. And
Ernesto, did you put your link in the chat?
I did.
Yeah, it's a little bit further up, but yeah, my email and LinkedIn are both in there somewhere.
Oh, there you go. I see it now. Yeah,
and,
thing on LinkedIn.
So I'll get a copy of this chat afterwards. So if there's anything anyone's missing, I can send this, or I can send this out to everyone that signed up today. Okay, I want to move on to Austin. So I scheduled these for an hour and a half, and there's a reason, because we want to make sure that we have plenty of time to talk about what people need. I know Tony had to drop off at 9:30, but most of us are still here. And I think some other people from Alaris have joined us. So Austin, I'm just going to hand it over to you. I think you're doing something really, really cool. And I think everyone's going to be excited to listen to what you have to say.
Thank you, Kim. I appreciate it. Let me see if Google Hangouts is going to work for me. So it's good to see everybody. Kim, thank you for putting this together. Obviously, very, very happy with everything that DefTech has been able to do, and it's good to see Matt. Sorry Tony dropped off, and it's nice to meet everybody. So my presentation is actually going to be in MP4 format. So can you all let me know if you can see this?
Have you started sharing yet?
Yes, I started sharing it. Yep. I'm sharing my screen.
Don't see it. After you say you want to share and you pick the screen you want to share, then you have to say, yes, I really want to share. Google wants you to be very, very certain.
Yeah, I clicked it. Nobody sees it? You don't see anything popping up yet?
Yeah, yep, now.
I do see it now. So one thing to be aware of when you play videos, sometimes it doesn't work. The audio doesn't work. We'll see what happens, but if it doesn't work, you can talk over it, right?
Yeah, we'll skip it. We'll skip it if it doesn't work. There's not too much audio involved, but long and short of it, my name is Austin Brown. I'm the co-founder of Global Air Media and the Global Air Drone Academy, for which I'm the president. Global Air Media is, I guess I'll start from the beginning, is an FAA certified drone services provider. Basically, we perform a lot of the services that everybody on this chat is familiar with. Obviously, when people think of drones, they think of cinematography, videography, and that's kind of how we got our start back in 2015. But we knew there would be a lot of data acquisition used in the drone industry, so we've really developed a capability to do mapping for various projects, mostly construction related, and putting projects together on that end. Additionally, we do some industrial inspection related work and of course training as well. But this is more about the nonprofit side. So I'm going to tell you how that came to be. In about 2016, most of us will remember the civil unrest in Baltimore after Freddie Gray's death. We had the opportunity to actually talk to kids in that very community, stone's throw away from where the CVS burned down. So we actually went into the community during our spring vacation, and we were just tasked with just talking to kids. They knew the work that we did, and they wanted us to teach kids about the drone industry and just fly drones with them, keep them off the streets so they won't be subject to the influence of the neighborhood effectively. So we went in, and for a week we taught kids and didn't really have too much teaching experience at all, myself or my business partner, and we just engaged with them and showed them some of the videos we had put together, some of the projects we had worked on, both locally and internationally. And we realized we had something because by the end of the week, people in the neighborhood were stopping to see what we were doing. And they would ask questions like, what are you doing with these kids with these drones? And at that point in 2015, 2016, most of you all are aware that a lot of people hadn't seen drones. The industry hadn't really come into form. And some would say that it still hasn't. But now when we talk to people, most people have seen drones. So, that was kind of the genesis of our program. And since then, we've been able to grow the program and introduce more STEAM components, talk to kids about entrepreneurship, and we've incorporated building drones into our classes and taught over 6,000 students. So I'm going to start the video now. It's pretty much timed. So, yeah, I just mentioned this. Our mission for the nonprofit is to decrease the racial and gender gap in STEAM careers and education. Basically by using drones as a means of actually engaging the kids in a fun way and teaching them about different aspects of engineering. So one of the first programs we did, we actually had a young lady say that when she started our program, she wanted to be a nurse. And by the end of the program, she wanted to be an engineer. And that was posted in the Baltimore Sun. And that was one of those, hallmark moments for us as an organization. Additionally, somehow we've been able to, via word of mouth and through partnerships, we've been able to teach at all these different places across the globe. As I stated before, we've taught over 6,000 students, from obviously in America, all the way to the UAE, to Turkmenistan, South Africa. And before COVID, we were in Ethiopia setting up programs, some training programs for them as well. And just this past week, we actually conducted a hackathon in Zambia. It was virtual. We were supposed to be there in person originally, but we had over 200 entries, and we taught them about the industry. And they basically ran through an entrepreneurship business pitch competition. And we're announcing the winners today, actually. And the winners get grand prizes of drones and other assistance to get their businesses off the ground. So it's been pretty crazy in the past 5 years. And as I said, taught over 6,000 students, 430 schools, 9 countries, 4 continents. And our curriculum is really STEAM-based. So that's science, technology, engineering, and math, as you all know. But the big carrot for us is that we like to teach kids how to build drones in classes, and they actually get to take the drones home. So that's kind of the carrot to get them to continue to pursue STEAM and stay engaged in the class. One thing I can share with you is that when you're teaching a class with kids and they know that they could get something to take home with them at the end, it encourages them to stay focused and to keep plugging ahead. And when they see their classmates moving ahead of them, it makes them more competitive. So we get to play off of that and just keep them engaged. All right. Just a little bit about our pipeline. I'll skip over that, but the ultimate goal is to get more kids into careers and education revolving around STEAM. I'll highlight this right here. Earlier this year, we were participants in the African Drone Forum, which was a continent-wide competition in Africa. And it was basically all these different drone companies from all across the continent. And they had different market segments they were attacking. And this company from Baltimore came in first. I'm happy to say we won the grand prize. And we'll be using the funds to continue to do the work that we're doing, specifically in Nigeria, to start a drone academy over there and continue to develop the industry internationally. Also want to say we do a lot of work with State Department. They've allowed us to, through our partnership, they've allowed us to reach out to many different countries, some of which I mentioned previously. We're also happy to see that there's some people from the Commerce Department on here as well. We're big participants in the Gold Key program and getting outreach and just doing things overseas as well. There's our team. I think some of you all might know Dr. Tom Snitch. I stated before I met some of you.
Who doesn't love summer camp?
So this is the video. Kim, can you let me know if this is playing okay?
Is a week-long camp aimed at launching inner-city youth into science, technology, and math-related fields and interest. ABC 2 News' Catherine Hawley got a chance to check out the drone.
Can you all hear the audio?
Yes, we can hear it.
Okay, good. Okay.
Camp today.
It takes skills and definitely some patience to master controlling a quadcopter through the air. This week, it's also part of drone camp for this group of 9.
Sometimes the drones can be unstable, so it's harder to maneuver it.
I like drones because they fly and it can go like really high and I can do tricks with them.
Flying the aircraft is the fun part, but before takeoff, the drones need to be assembled.
My favorite thing is that we get to build things and, you know, it's a life experience.
Are they moving?
Yeah, of course.
Each participant gets their own kit.
We have been building our drones and we have been talking about them.
Very good solution. Both very good solutions.
So far, we've learned how drones work, what they're made of, what they're used for.
We've been finding out different pieces about the drone, like say the flight controller is the one that controls the drone.
For 5 hours a day, the kids learn how the parts fit together and how the technology works. Organizers hope the drones become more than a hobby for camp participants.
Usually we try to target the elementary school to middle school range, you know, catch kids while they're young, get them exposed to the STEM aspects and technology and everything, and just engage with them so they have something to build off of going forward.
And possibly launching education and careers in the science that gets the devices off the ground. At the end of the week, after building the drones, everyone who came to the camp gets to take their own home.
You can name it. I named mine Laserbeak after Transformers.
That kind of excitement is exactly the reason Global Air Media started the camps last year.
Seeing them light up as they learn about what pieces do and putting it together. And then at the end of the day, they walk away saying, I built this. That's the most rewarding part.
Catherine Hawley, ABC 2 News.
Now, if you want
So that's the program in a nutshell.
more information about the Global Air Media or interested in upcoming drone camps, guess what? We put a link on our website. You can find it at ABC.
There we go. All right, so yeah, you know, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, so I figure a video is worth 1,000,000. I hope that gave you all a good understanding of what we do. Since then, we've grown the program out even more. We do much more in depth and more older kids training, high school, and getting them certified and things like that. So, but the long and short of it is the reason I'm here today, and the big ask is that throughout the course of this program, we've had several challenges, and some of them have been referenced earlier today, with, you know, mostly Chinese manufactured drones and getting a consistent and steady supply. Just like we have issues on the commercial side with DJI drones, there's been I guess a communication gap and a readiness gap to supply materials consistently to us to actually get our supply to teach as many kids as we can. These programs roll year round from fall, spring to summer. So we constantly need a supply of drones, and we just found it difficult to stay with, you know, one company. So this is one model that we've worked with previously. It's the Hubsan X4 107D. This is one of the second or third models that we actually use for our programs. It's pretty basic. It's a pretty small quadcopter. Actually, I have one with me right now. I'll show it at the end of this presentation. But it's pretty small. The battery lasts about 5 minutes. As you can see, it's 37 grams. Injection mold. It doesn't require much for assembly except a soldering iron, which does require us to be in person to teach children how to put that together. I'll move on. So our solution, and I want to shout out to Cyrus, by the way. I saw he was in here. We've had some conversations with him previously, and thank you for joining today. But our solution has been to try to source our own parts and 3D print a frame that we can actually use to enhance our curriculum and teach kids how to put together something that they not only built, but something that they printed as well. So that incorporates STEAM and 3D printing and you know, small elements of manufacturing and design as well. So this past year, we've actually put a lot of time into developing a frame that was not only suitable and within our budget, but it was aerodynamic as well. And we had some success doing that this past summer. Gonna move on. And some of the basic needs that we have for this drone is including LEDs. Is something that kids love. We have to be able to securely hold all the motors, screwing the frame together, and having a door hinge or something, some sort of compartment to protect the batteries that we use for the drones. Those are the main things we've been looking to do, and I don't think you all would be too surprised, but it sounds simple, but it's been incredibly difficult to both print, you know, the right type of drone and find a steady supply. So those have been the primary challenges. And I think we're coming up on, oh yeah, this is a demo flight recently, which doesn't seem like much, but was a huge moment for us after all the work we put into this. And that's the long and short of it. I wanted to, you know, try and stick close to time. So the major needs we have are sourcing components. You know, we have a pretty tight budget. I know there are other build-a-drone kits on the market, but the problem is that they price a lot of students out, a lot of people out, which doesn't really align with our core mission. There's also a lot of variation to the drone kits that are on the market currently. I was going to include some of the other ones we've used. Radio Shack previously had one, but their supply ran out. Hubsan is used. We've used some Hubsans. Their supply ran out. And then they changed the configuration, or they'll just change the model altogether, which throws a curriculum off. It means we have to retrain our instructors, you know, and basically just change the way we teach the class, which isn't really sustainable. So as we've been working on our custom kit, we certainly need guidance in refining it, making it more commercially viable, or I should say commercially, just refined in general, and bringing it to market. Of course, that's what this conference is about. So yeah, with that said, I think that's pretty much it, everything in a nutshell. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen and take some questions.
Thank you, Austin. It's fascinating what you're doing. I think that's so wonderful. I love anything to do with education and things like that. So STEAM and STEM, that's all great. So you mentioned you had talked to Cyrus. Cyrus is he is the founder of RPM Tech. They're also a DefTech partner and client, kind of oddly. But he's willing to talk to anybody as well. We mentioned Harbor Designs earlier. That's another manufacturing partner of ours. Does anybody? Let me just point out too, to make sure you're checking the chat. So Andrea Renner is with the Army Medical Research and Development Command. She's a technical. I always get this wrong, Andrea. TAA. Technical assistance advocate for their SBIR and STTR program, and she has some good info there in her chat for those of you that want to connect with interesting ways to connect with DoD. So I don't want to derail this conversation, but this idea of finding the right parts and putting the kit together and stuff. Anybody have any thoughts, ideas? sources. Well, and go ahead and just unmute and start talking. I will shut up eventually at some point. I do want to point out that Jennifer did mention in chat, she's with the Department of Commerce, she's our program manager, that there is a Maryland Defense Network that is a access to supply chain. So you can go to that. It's just marylanddefensenetwork.org. Sign up for that, and you can see if a manufacturer or somebody that's a part supplier has put their information in there, you'll be able to find them. That is a great resource for companies.
Hi, Austin. Todd Saban with the Maryland Department of Commerce. How are you today?
Good, thank you. Nice to hear from you.
Yeah, good to see you again. I know I met with you and your partner over at OpenWorks probably a couple of years ago.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and at that point in time, I know you're getting into the UAV market of assembling them at that time, and I kind of thought that you would try to focus on the training, but now I understand that you want a repetitive drone that you can use consistently, and that's why designing your own is valuable to your program.
Exactly. Yeah, we just run into so many issues over the years with basically the supply chain, and then models being altered and things like that. And really, it's just not fair to the kids for us to have to change things multiple times like that. So, yeah, we're definitely looking to get into it a bit more.
Yeah, I know you're in good hands with Cyrus at RPM Tech, but maybe let's speak offline about I don't know how we can go about sourcing supply local in Maryland or more consistently. But I'd like to reconnect with you and see how we can help out.
Awesome. Thank you, Todd.
I'll reach out.
Appreciate it.
Matt Casper here. Great. Been following Global Air Media, your growth on the training and service side. The Global Air Drone Academy, the nonprofit side, a couple questions. And I can imagine with Tom Smith involved, I know a little bit about some of these answers. But if you could talk a little bit about kind of the development of your international pipeline, the locations, how you got into it, using local people, and your revenue model on the nonprofit side, not trade secrets or anything, but kind of talk about those two aspects, if you would.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Dr. Tom's been a huge asset. So, yeah, we basically had a plan from the beginning to get into the international markets. So, unfortunately, we had an opportunity to present at the Smithsonian, and we ran into people from the State Department who put us in their speakers program, which I'm sure you're familiar with, and allowed us to actually do a lot of traveling. And we basically take advantage of all those opportunities when we're overseas. We've just been able to organically grow via word of mouth because we really don't do any type of online advertising, or hadn't previously up until this past year. And work with the Commerce Department to get on-ground partners. For the Zambia hackathon, we worked with a group called Bongo Hive in Nigeria. There's a workstation. We always try to facilitate some sort of on-ground partnership with both places like OpenWorks, community hubs where people are developing technology, and then additionally with schools. So basically we work through the State Department. Our revenue model includes grants, and then it includes summer camps, after school programs. So that would be through the parents or through schools.
So one thing you might, yeah, that was great, perfect information. I think it's really useful for everybody, not just looking at the nonprofit education STEAM stuff, but also those partnerships ideas, State Department, others. Another really seems like a natural pathway would be the Humanitarian Uav Network, UAViators, Dr. Patrick Meyer and his group, where they basically crowdsource UAS capability around the world for disaster response. Something happens in Lagos or someplace else, an earthquake, typhoon, whatever, and they basically go to that spot with the people that are already there that have drone capabilities. I'd see this as a natural pipeline to develop UAS talent around the world that would then be available to that network to be able to respond to disasters. So there may be some natural affiliation lash up there to kind of lean towards disaster response training, hooking up public safety folks, the disaster response folks, folks like Global Medic, some of the other ones that are really busy, and of course Patrick Meyer's group lash those things together. You got the interest, the development, the training, and then the response. Seems to make sense.
I like that. Dr. Tom does mention Patrick Meyer from time to time too. We just haven't made the connection. Additionally, we do have experience with disaster relief. We We did some work down in Puerto Rico in the wake of the hurricane, and then in Bangladesh as well. And what we do is we try to take the commercial experience that we have and bring it to the classroom, which makes everything a little bit more real for the students. So great suggestion. Definitely going to take
We need to talk more. We'll do that offline. Thanks. Good job.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Do we have any other thoughts? Anybody want to just share anything overall? I want to say thank you to definitely to Promote, to Bill, and to Austin for preparing for this. They put effort into understanding what DefTech's trying to do here, which is to network when we can't be together. This is exactly the kind of conversation that we want to have, with some back and forth, some off the top of our head ideas and opportunities to connect. So thank you guys for putting the effort in and for being here this morning. And I think
thank you, Kim. We know you're the real star. You know you put it together.
No, this is all about you guys and the great opportunities you're building. I'm going to say for the state of Maryland, we're a Maryland program, and I live here, and I want to see our economy grow, and I want to see us have good jobs. And so I appreciate that you're building companies that are doing things like that and can partner and grow. So I have our next upcoming event ready and on Meetup. I don't, as I mentioned the last time we met here, Griffin St. Louis has flown the coop. So he is with TEDCO now. And so it's Gary and I trying to keep all this going, and it's metrics time and data collection time. So just watch. I'll have another event in October, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to focus on ag and aquaculture. So that is another great opportunity for some of us here to get back in the room and have some discussion. So with that, I will tell everyone, I hope you have a wonderful day. Again, thank you for joining us. Wear your masks, wash your hands, and stay healthy. Thanks.